an attempt at humor this evening, all right. Now what? Let me tell you what. Financial outlook for 2012. Go back to Dickens. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Well, it's the worst of times right now. Let me give you a couple of guidelines. We budgeted for K-12 $500 million for 2011 of one-time ARRA money. I know you don't like the federal government doing that, but you sure are thankful you got it. We're also going to plan to spend $149 million in jobs money next year. The trust fund has already borrowed $437 million that has to be repaid by 2014. We've issued bonds to pay for school bus fleet renewal. School buses which have a maximum lifetime of 10 years, we're selling 20-year bonds to pay for those. You've heard of the miracle education budget. Well, the miracle was that they connived to get it done. We budgeted one-time revenues for 2011, which will not recur. We've changed the accounting period for the teachers' retirement system from 20 years to 30, which means we pushed off unfunded liability in the future. The rates are going to go up faster for that cost now, more rapidly than they would have before we did this. Well, we had to get our miracle budget. We have kept PHIP, Public Education Employees Health Insurance, Teachers Health Insurance, level for 3 years by borrowing from the reserve of that fund. That's going to go up. The flexibility, any of you with Baldwin County Board, the flexibility that you've had to spend money earmarked for capital outlay for teacher salaries, that's probably going to go away in 2012. Proration is probably going to be hitting us again in 2011. Many boards have exhausted their reserve fund. Many have borrowed. County boards are hit the hardest. Why? Very simply, counties have a lower tax rate than city school systems all across the state. Therefore, they have fewer revenues coming in. Number two, cities, which would be the sugar daddy of a city board of education, have virtual home rule on tax revenue and revenue generation. Therefore, historically, when boards of education are in trouble, the city is more able to financially step forward to assist them. So what now? Here's what it comes down to. We're going to increase state and or local taxes. Well, if you believe that, we've got some swampland that's available at a really good price. I think the public sentiment statewide is going to be a hard uphill bite to do that. We can decrease funding for the Education Trust Fund. We can raise the divisors in the foundation program. It means your class sizes are most likely going to get larger. Or we could cut the number of days that your kids are getting instruction by at least 5. Well, a shorter school year. That's bad because that means fewer days that child nutrition and transportation is operating and your kids are taken care of if you're working. All the money can be cut. Between decreased revenues and increased costs, we could be looking at a $400 million to $650 million cut in the current level of spending in education in 2012. Folks, it ain't over. Those of you who are in the real estate business know it's going to be a long, hard slog before things really could, if they will, get strong again. So, in summary, let me tell you what we've looked at. And through a comprehensive financial analysis, I tried to look at all state laws that affect the operation of the City Board of Education and who may or may not go to that school system. I tried to review all of the provisions for a city taking control, responsibility, and tax revenues of an area outside the city. I tried to anticipate what revenues totally then would be available and how the financial condition of the city and the county would basically stand. inclusion, they're about the same, except the county has a lot larger revenue base over which to spread this $41 million of debt. You would be assuming a concentrated debt in a small geographic area on a relatively small tax base. So that's a strike against. You would have to have an additional cost of general administrative services. Didn't try to back out what Baldwin County is doing proportionally. They are doing some proportionally. But initial costs probably will be a little bit higher. So on those two costs alone, I looked at the numbers and said, for a comfort zone, we're probably looking at about $2 million of revenue difference. Can I absolutely promise you that you have to have it? No. Could I absolutely promise you that it would make the financial picture look better if you were moving forward? Yes. But the only move forward there can be at this point is either more study, abandon the idea, form a board and let them begin a 2-year review and study of everything additional that needs to be known. But that doesn't mean you're going to have a separate city school system. The trigger does not occur until there's a negotiated contract settlement with the Baldwin County Board of Education pertaining to students to be served and continuing and one-time assets to be distributed. So I can't tell you what anybody would do at that point. All we can do is carefully try to consider all of the relevant issues. I've taken longer. I apologize to you all. I am greatly gratified by your intense interest in this issue, and I wish you all the very best. Thank you for your kind attention.